All right, good afternoon, traders. Hopefully, everyone is having a good weekend so far. Now, before I get into the show, I really do want to thank all my subscribers. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. Now, if you're not a subscriber and you happen to be watching the show, go ahead and do so. I really do think you're going to get a lot of valuable information from my technical setups. All right, with that, as you know, anyone who does watch the show, we are going to go over the SPY, look at some key technical levels, and then I am going to give you the three stocks that I really do think are going to move this week. All right, with that, let's get right into the show. All right, as you know, last week the SPY made a 52-week high, right? We're in this upper Bollinger Band zone right here. But as you know, even though that usually indicates an overbought situation, these overbought situations, as you can see, could go on for a while. Okay, so what do I expect for tomorrow? Well, it really depends on how we gap. Okay, now the stocks that I am going to give you for the for the week, they are setting up so nicely that our risk is so defined. Even if we do see a little bit of a pullback, usually those support levels that I'm going to give you on those stocks should hold. Okay, and if they don't, and we do gap down, that means there's a real issue with those stocks. There's not that support behind that stock, so we'll know exactly when to get out. Okay, so for Monday on the SPY, let's watch what happens. Now, clearly, if we were to gap up and take out that first 30-minute time frame candle, I do believe we are on the upside. I do think we are going to make a new 52-week high. Now, conversely, if we were to gap down and start taking that first 30-minute candle time frame out on the downside, we're going to have to watch some key levels. Okay, now the first key level we need to watch is that 10 SMA right down here, which happens to be at 380.23. You're going to see a lot of support coming in there initially. Now if we were to gap way below that 10 SMA right there, there's a high probability that we are going to test and hold that midpoint Bollinger Band, just like we did back here on the 15th of January. So again, there's no need really, unless everything is falling apart, to really say about this 50-day moving average right here. So watch those key levels for tomorrow. Again, watch that 380.23 in the S&P, or right down here at that midpoint Bollinger Band at 376.13, worst case scenario, and then you'll definitely see some some buyers stepping into the market. Okay, that is the SPY. All right, with that, let's go into the three stocks that I think are technically setting up real nicely going into tomorrow. And the first one is going to be BWEN. Now, this one's a really small market cap company. You're going to have to be extremely nimble if you get into this name. I do think it's setting up nicely. If you take a look at BWEN, Broadwin, it had made that new 52-week high up here at 1085. It came back down, it gapped down, but look at this candle. It did hold this midpoint Bollinger Band. It did close right below that 10 SMA right here. Okay, so how to play this if you're in it, or if you're interested and you know the name, you know what's fundamentally going on with the company. Well, clearly on Monday, you have to be a buyer right up here past this day's high right here. There's a big gap right here, and if we could get back into that gap, there's not much inventory or shares traded above us, so there's probably going to be a nice little bit of a tailwind into this name going into maybe retesting that 52-week high. Now, you can play this one of two ways. You could either clearly play this on a breakout of Friday's high, or in the morning you can see if there's a little bit of a shakeout right here. And what's key about this is basically you have to see if this midpoint Bollinger Band right here holds. Okay, so irrespective if you played on the breakout or of a little pullback, this midpoint Bollinger Band right here is going to be your line in the sand. Now, since that breakout, this 10 SMA had been breached right back here on the 19th of January, right? So that's not the key that we need to watch. But since that breakout, this midpoint Bollinger Band has held nicely. So again, for Monday, for tomorrow, watch this midpoint Bollinger Band as your line in the sand or as your stop. So any close below that 837 right here has to be your out. So your risk reward setup is extremely defined. You either play this on a breakout of Friday or on a little bit of a pullback, and then clearly use this midpoint Bollinger Band as your stop out. Okay, that is BWEN. Next stock on the list is going to be XL. Now, one of our subscribers had talked about this one, had asked me about XL. I do have my concerns fundamentally about the company, but that that's setting that aside. I really do think this is setting up nicely to go go higher this week. We had that nice upgrade on Friday, so we have this really nice gap. We clearly broke above this trend line, the descending trend line right here. So again, for Friday, how to play it, and this is again how I would play this stock if you're in it or thinking about getting a position, is you play it on a breakout, right? Because we are clearly near that value area high, and then if we could get above that, that'd be a nice move. Or again, if you do, clearly try to play this on a pullback, but this load all the way down here from that breakout has to hold of 1872. So probably, on a little bit of a shakeout or a little bit of a pullback down here would be nice to see if it can close this gap. But if you do get in it, I would either buy it on a pullback, or yes, on a pullback, okay, where this holds right down here at 1872, or you buy this on a breakout of Friday's high, okay? So remember, buy it on a breakout or buy it on a pullback, but you definitely, in both instances, you have to use, that low from Friday as your out, okay, which happens to be at 1851 in XL. All right, last stock on the list that looks extremely good for the week is going to be FUBO. This is one that I am in, okay. Full disclosure, it's if you take a look at FUBO, it had a really nice move on Thursday and Friday. It did now look like it wants to break above this value area high, and there's two key parts to this trade. Okay, now we have that high from back here of the 13th where it went above $40.40 right there. So that's a little bit of resistance right here. We're definitely going to see if we can break that out on Monday or later in the week. And if that were to happen, we are again going to be above this value area high. Okay, now if we can get above that value area high with a nice green candle, meaning with some good volume, and close above that value area high, we do have very little inventory. That means shares traded above us, right? Everything's going to be below us, meaning we're going to have a really nice launching pad, if you will, where shorts are going to want to cover. There's not going to be much resistance going forward. And we have a ton of gaps up here, guys, that need to be filled or should be filled, in my opinion, okay? So again, how to play this? Well, clearly you buy this on a breakout above, above Friday's high, and then you add to it. So you do this in two tranches, in my opinion. You buy it above Friday's high, and then you buy again above that high of 113, which happens to be at $40.40. Okay, so if you do get into the name, you get into the stock, then where is my stop? Now, unfortunately, with this one, it's a high momentum stock. Therefore, you're going to have to give this a little bit of room to run, where, in my opinion, has to hold this now, not this 50-day moving average, where we've held a few different times, but this 10 SMA. Now, if you could hold this 10 SMA, that means we're really in a uptrending momentum play, okay? So again, remember, two tranches above Friday's high, add to it above the 13th of here of January, right up there, and then you clearly use this 10 SMA as your stop price or your out right down here, which happens to be at 32.86. Okay. Again, remember, this is a dynamic moving average right here, so it is going to continue to go up as time goes out. Okay, that is FUBO. Be a buyer again above Friday's high, and then a little more above the high of the 13th, which happens to be at $40.40, and then you use this 10-day moving average as your stop. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. My name is Eric, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below. I'll make sure to get right back to you with any questions you may have. Now, if you're not a subscriber and you happen to be watching the show, go ahead and do so. I really do think you're going to get a lot of valuable information from my technical setups. All right, with that, have a great weekend. We will see you Monday after the close. And remember, trade smart and be safe.